Hello. So in this video, I will go over the solution of the guessing game problem, and I will also post the solution online. You can see the problem itself on Moodle. A quick refresher about the problem. So we want to create a random number between 1 and 250, and the computer will generate this number, and you want to try and guess it. To be able and guess it, you have multiple options. So first of all, you need to keep track of how many times or how many attempts did the user do. And you only have 7 attempts. So if you don't know the number in 7 attempts, the program will stop. Always in this scenario, because I'm giving you a sample run, always look at the sample run to see how to do your print statements and how the code should look like eventually. So for example here, number of guesses left, the number of attempts is always put in brackets, and then this is what the user enters. And then the number of guesses left will be 6, and then the user enters 1. Then the number of guesses left is 5, the user enters a hint. So let's continue with the requirements. So first of all, this is the which is the user enters something, and then you decrement the number of attempts. And then the user can, instead of writing a number, the user can write the keyword hint. If the user writes hint and the number of attempts is 3 or more, then you will give him one of these 3 hints. But if the number of attempts left is 1 or 2, then you will not give a hint, and you will give one of these 2 messages. One, cannot give any hint, only 1 guess is left. So this is if the number of attempts is 1. Or cannot give any hint, only 2 guesses left. This is if the number of attempts is 2. So even if the user enters a hint and the number of attempts is 1 or 2, you just give them a message. You do not, if you give them this message, you do not decrement the number of attempts. So if the attempts are 2, then you will issue the message cannot give any hint, only 2 guesses left, but the number of attempts will remain 2. So this you need to pay attention to it. If the number of attempts is 3 or more, then you will give the user one of 3 hints at random. Hint number 1, to tell the user if the number that the computer has put at random is even or odd. Another one, if the number of digits in that number is, or what is the number of digits in the number. And then hint number 3. For hint number 1 or 2, it is not useful if you ask or if you get them more than once, because if you requested a hint and it told you that the number is even, it doesn't make sense that you get the same hint again because you already knew it's even. The same for the number of digits. So later on in the code, you need to make sure that hint 1, if you picked it, you don't pick it again. And hint 2, if you picked it, you don't pick it again. What you can pick again and again is hint 3. So hint 3, it is to create a random number and then compare that random number with the machine number and then say, compare them with each other and give a message. For example, here the number is less than 76. So the number that the machine did at random is 76. And then you compare the original number to 76 and you give the message it is less than 76. Of course, you can do less than or greater than. And that's mainly it. If you guess the number, and yes, if you did a hint, the number of attempts will be reduced by 2, not by 1. If you guess the number which is correct, it will be great. The program will finish, but then it will repeat from the beginning to give you an option to play the game again. And if you said quit, saying quit will terminate the program and will stop, will give you what the number was and will stop. This is a sample run. It's important to see the sample run. So here when I get to hint, the hint apparently it was hint 3. This is done at random. Then you continue, the number of attempts remaining will be 3. The user guessed 50, 40, then hint. The user gets a message. You cannot get any hint because there is only 1 guess left. Then the user guessed 22 and it is done. And you consumed all your 7 attempts. So the program will give you what was the number. So in this case, the number was 63. It gives you a message changing number because now it wants to repeat the same process again. This is now another complete run. So I start with a hint. I get the hint, 3 digits, and then I guess the number. You were lucky, I guessed the number correct. Changing number again, and then you repeat. Here I'm repeating, I say quit. Immediately it gives me what the number was, and the program stops. So these are the requirements. This is the program. Now, this one I'll keep it till the end because this while loop is the while loop that will repeat the program as many times as needed. The line number 6, it gets a random number between 1 and 250 inclusive, so it's exclusive of the last one. Number of attempts is 7 because my loop will stop when the number of attempts is consumed. I have 3 Boolean variables. Hint 1 is false, hint 2 is false, bingo is false. And this mainly I will need them in order to address the issue of not giving the hint 1 twice, not giving the hint 2 twice, and bingo when I guess the answer. We'll get to them in a few. My major while loop, so I can normally when you want to do this program, you will keep the while loop, the big while loop till the end, the while loop that repeats the whole code. This is what I did. And I'll focus on the main while loop, which is the while loop that will play the game. The first line is to guess a number. I'll ask the user to give me an input. Number of guesses left. Here, this is important because I want to keep track of the number of guesses. And here, which is the 7, the 6, the 5, and so on. And then I'll get this number from the user. So this number can either be a number or it can be a string. So for that reason, I will not cast it from the beginning. I will take it, I will read it as a string, and then I will check. So this is the first if statement. I will check. Is this guessed number a digit? So is the string that the user wrote, is it a digit? If it is a digit, it means that it's a number. So it is not hint and it is not quit. If it is a number, the first thing that I will do is reduce the number of attempts by 1. I will change the guessed number to an integer, so I will cast it. So this is a string on the right-hand side. Cast it to integer. The result is an integer. I store it in guessed number. So now guessed number is an integer. Why do I need it as an integer? Because I want to compare it to the computer number, to this number here on line 6, which is a random number between 1 and 250. If it was correct, I'll print correct, and I'm done. And I'll change the value of bingo to true, and then I break. Now, this is a bit different, this code, from what we did in class where I tell the user if the number is bigger or smaller. It is not part of the question. If it was, I could have here continued and said, if the guessed number was bigger than the computer number, do that. If it was less than the computer number, do that. But again, this is not part of the question. We are answering exactly what the question is asking us to do. So what is this bingo? So when I break out of this loop. Okay, so the break breaks me out of the first loop. So let's assume I reached the break. I will minimize this while loop because as if I finished the while loop, I broke out of the loop and I changed bingo to true. So let's see what after the loop. After the loop is this if statement. So if the user gets it, this bingo becomes true. Not bingo is false. There's an and here, so I will not enter the if. So this means that the program stops. Now, what if it was false? So what is the need for this if? If bingo was false, it means that it still has its own initial value. It means that I never entered this if, so it never changed to true. It means that the user never guessed the number. So if the user didn't guess the number, so assuming that this, ignore this for now, because this I need it in order to change the program. So assuming that bingo is still false, not bingo is true, it means that I entered the if. So this is one of the options for entering the if. If I entered the if, it means that I finished all my 7 attempts. So this is the while loop, number of attempts is greater than 0. I finished it all, and bingo is still false. It means that I never guessed the number. I'll give the user what is the number. So the number was whatever the number was, and then I'll say changing number, and I'll go up to the bigger while. The bigger while is while not complete break. While not complete break, similar idea. I start with a variable called complete break, which is false. If it is not false, it means if it is true, I keep looping. The only time I will break out of the whole program is when the complete break becomes true. And the complete break becomes true is when the user writes quit. So later on in the code here, if I go down, 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 here, at some point, if the guest number was quit, I will change the complete break to true, and then I'll print the number, and then I break. So complete break true. Now I will go back up. Uh, Complete break true, it will break me out of the bigger loop, because complete break will become true, not true is false, while false I'll exit the loop and I'll exit the program. So this is why I need complete break. If, for example, I did not get the number, so I didn't guess the number, and I did not write the quit. So what does this mean? It means that I consumed my 7 attempts and I want to repeat the program. So for that reason, I enter the if, issue what the number was, and I repeat. If for any reason I guessed the number, I will quit. If for any reason I wrote quit, I will quit because the complete break will become true here, and I will exit the program. If it was complete break, I issue the number and exit the program. So I hope this was clear. I will repeat it very quickly. So in the first if statement in the while loop, the bigger while loop will stop when the attempts are bigger than 0. Inside, if by some miracle you guessed what the number is, I will change bingo to true and break. Bingo to true, it's originally false. Break, it will break out of this while. It comes to this if statement. If bingo, I changed it to true, it means not true is false. It means I need to exit the program immediately. I don't have to report what the number was because I guessed the number already. As for the guest number is break, this guest number is break is in this if else, in this chain. So I minimized it here. I will minimize this one as well. So if the guest number is a digit, it's not a digit because I wrote quit. Is it hint? No. It is quit? Yes. Complete break equal true now because I want to break out of the whole program. I print out what the number was and I break. So when it comes to this if statement, bingo is still false. So not bingo is true. I'll come to the complete break. Complete break is true. This becomes false. The whole thing becomes false. It means that I want to quit the program. I enter, report what the number was, and then change the number, and then I repeat. Okay. So again, this if statement is only to say that if I did not match the number or didn't guess the number, and I didn't write quit, which I did, I don't want to finish the program, I will report what the number was, and I'll say changing number, and then I repeat from the beginning, and the beginning is here. This beginning is here. I will reset everything. Pick another random number, reset the number of attempts to 7. Hint 1 is false, hint 2 is false. We'll see why I need them, and then bingo is false, and then I repeat. So going back. So guess number, the user enters a number. If the user enters a number, I will reduce the attempts to 1, make the number integer. I'll check, is it equal to the number that the computer has in mind? If yes, correct, bingo is true. In order to not report the number again, I break. What if it was not a digit? If it wasn't a digit, then it's either a hint or a quit. I already talked about the quit, which I need to quit the program here. But before quitting, I need to report the number. So this is why I have it here. So if it is a quit, I report the number. Sorry, here. I report the number and then I break out of the loop, but I do not enter this if statement. So what remains is the hint. So else here. So if it is a hint, I want to check Is the number of attempts left 1? If it is 1, I issue a message saying the number of attempts is 1, you cannot have a hint. If the number of attempts is 2, I'll print out I have only 2 guesses left, and also I don't do anything. If the number of otherwise, so this means now that the number of attempts is not 1, not 2, so if it is 3 or more, the first thing that I will do, I will reduce the number of attempts by 2. I'll generate a random number between 1 and 3. I need this random number to pick one of 3 hints here. So either is it even or odd, the number of digits, or this random number. Let's ignore this while loop till the end because I need it for one specific purpose. So I'll come here. So if the random hint was 1, so this random number that I generated between 1 and 3, if it was 1, ignore hint 1 for now, ignore hint 1 for now. So just if it is 1. If it is 1, I come to the if statement. Is the computer number modulus 2 0? Yes, I print out the number is even. Otherwise, I'll print out the number is odd. So this is the if statement that really decides on the hint number 1, if the random hint is 1. Why do I need this flag again? Let's assume that the random number was 1 the first time. So if it was 1 the first time, I will enter into this if statement, and I will report if the number is even or odd. What if next time, I also enter hint, and the random number was also 1. So the random hint was also 1. So I don't want to come to this if statement again and report the same thing again. So is the number even or odd? So I only want to use this hint only once. So what do I need to do? What I need to do is once I enter the if statement, I want to have a variable that tells me later on, did I use this hint or not? Now, the way to do this, I will use a variable called hint1 that initially I'll start with false. And only if I enter the if statement, I will change to true. Okay? So initially it is false. False, it means that I didn't use hint1 before. So when I come to the if statement, hint1 is false, not hint1 is true, so I enter the if. Again, this means that it's the first time I'm using hint1. So this is why hint1 is originally false. So this will allow me to enter the if. But once I enter the if, I need to change this flag hint1 to true. So when I come back again, I don't enter the if statement again. So this flag prevents me from entering into this if statement again. So it will prevent me from using the same hint twice. This is exactly the same, the else if, the same idea if the random hint was 2 and not hint 2. So hint 2 is originally false. I will enter the if statement for the first time. But once I enter it the first time, I will change the hint to true. So if the random hint was 2 again, I will come here and say, not false, which means this is not true, it's false. I will not enter the if, and this is true because I already used the hint before. So if I entered into hint 2, I'll print out the number of digits and the number is. What this is doing is it's changing the computer number to a string, and then I'm using the length of the string. So if it was 100, the length of 100 is 3. So it tells me what's the number of digits. Now, let's go back to this one. So this if, I hope now it's clear, and the else it's clear. The flag, this one, it's mainly used in order to know, did I enter this if statement before or not? If I entered it before, I will flip this flag so I don't enter the if statement again. Now, but let's assume that you entered one, okay? To make it easy, you get a hint 1 and you got the hint 2. So I already consumed hint 1 and hint 2. And then I asked for a third hint. And when I asked for a third hint, the random hint here came, and it happened that the random hint is 1 or 2. So I will not go into the if, I will not go into the else, and of course the hint is not 3. So I will skip the else and I will continue the program. So for the user, you didn't give the user a hint. So you asked the machine, give me a hint. it happened that the random hint was 1 or 2. I skipped all the if-else statements, and I didn't really give the user a hint. So what I need to do, and this is the purpose of this small while loop here, that if the user entered, or if the hint before was a hint 1, and hint 1 is true, it means that I already used this hint 1 before, I will pick another random hint. Let's ignore this or for now. So I will repeat this part of the while loop because the other part is exactly the same. If the random hint was 1, so this is what the random number gave me, and hint 1 equal true, it means that I already used this hint 1 before, so I need to change the random number. I want to repeat the random hint, get me another random number for random hint, hoping that I don't get 1 again. If it happened and the random number was also 1, then random hint is 1, then I'll go up to the while loop again. Random hint is 1, which is true. Hint 1 is true because I didn't change it, so it will repeat again. So this loop will keep repeating forever as long as you are entering a hint that you already used before. So if the random number is always giving me 1 and I already used this hint before, so hint 1 is true, this will keep repeating. So at some point, random hint will be a number which is not 1. And if it is not 1, this becomes false. False and true is false. I exit the while, and I know that random hint is not 1. So I will not enter into this if statement again. It will either be 2 or it will be 3. I will be able to give the user a hint. I will do the same for the other part. So if hint 1 was used before, from this flag, and the random hint happened to be 1, or if hint 2 was used before and the random number happened to be 2, I want to keep looping in order to generate another random hint. Instead of putting a while loop for the hint 1 and another while loop for hint 2, I put them together with an OR. So now assume that the user received 2 hints. The first one, it was the random hint was 1. And the second time, the random hint was 2. So what this while loop will ensure me is that it will keep looping until I get a random hint that is 3, which makes sense because I don't want to use a random hint 1 anymore. I don't want to use a random hint of 2 anymore. I want to use a random hint of 3. The same applies if the random hint, I put a hint and I get random hint 1. This will keep looping as long as the random number is being 1. Once the random number becomes 2 or 3, I will exit the while. Okay, so if it became 2 again, so I used 1 and 2, I will keep looping until I pick 3. So this is the purpose of this while loop. Eventually, in your code, of course, this you will keep it till the end. And this you will only know it when you test. Actually, this is what happened to me. I only added this while loop after I saw that I issued a hint and I didn't get anything back. So I didn't get anything because apparently the random hint was 1. And I already used 1 before. It didn't enter the if. So the program continued without giving me a hint. And if the random hint is a 3, this is now easy. The hard ones are gone. I generate a temporary random number, which is between 1 and 55. And then I compare that random number with the computer number. So if the computer number was less than the temporary random number that I just generated, I'll issue a message saying that the number is less than that random number. Otherwise, it is greater than that random number, or it is equal to that random number. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now we will see a sample run. This is the big structure of it. While loop in order to repeat the whole thing. An if statement. This if statement is mainly used again to check if I didn't guess the number and I didn't write quit. It means that I consumed all my attempts. And this means that I want to tell the user what is the random number, and then I want to issue this message changing number, and then it will repeat all the way back to here. The while loop, this while loop is divided into three big if statements. They are here. If the guessed number is a digit, I'll just check if it is correct or not. If it was a hint, I need to offer the user the three hints. If it was a quit, I need to quit the program. Quitting the program is nothing but making complete breakthrough. So this will make this big while loop exit. I print out the number and then I break out of the loop. The first one, as we said, the first if statement, it only converts the guessed number to integer and check if it's true. It sets bingo to true, again, in order to here not report the number again. And the last if, which is here, if I have a hint, here there is some work. I need to check if the attempts is 1, I issue a message. Attempts is 2, I issue a message. Otherwise, if the number of attempts is 3 or more, I go inside, reduce the number to 2, pick the random hint, hoping that I will get 1, 2, or 3. This while loop will keep looping until you enter a good random hint, and a good random hint is a random hint that is 1 or 2 or 3, in such a case that 1, if you picked a random hint 1 before, I will keep repeating until here I get a random hint that is not 1. If I picked a random hint that is 2, this while loop will ensure that the new random hint is not 2. If before I did a random hint which is 1 and 2, so I used both, this while loop will ensure that the random hint will be 3. So it will keep looping until I get a random hint that is 3. If it was 1, I will tell you if it is even or odd, but before I need to flip this flag so I don't enter into this hint again. Same for 2 and same for 3. I hope this was helpful. The best way that you do it is to try and repeat the program on your own. Again, this is one way of doing it. Maybe there are, or you did it in another way. If it might very well be correct, let me run it for you. Okay, so let's say I will start with hint. The number is even and the hints go back to 5. Let's say I said hint again. The number of digits in the number is 3, so I know it is 100 or more. I will ask for another hint. It tells me it's less than 124. All of these are happening at random. I still have one more attempt. I say hint. It doesn't give me a hint anymore. Let's say it's 100, then it stops. It tells me the number was 116, changing number, and it resets. So it's repeating from scratch. So let's assume now I consume all my options. Okay. So if I consumed all my options, again, it tells me the number and it exits. Uh, if here I put a number 51, I ask for a hint. It gives me the hint, the number of digits is the number of digits and the number is 1. Okay, interesting. So this one, let's actually try to guess it. 9, 1, 3, 6. Oh boy, I'm lucky today. So I got it. It is 6, and it was the last attempt, which is great. I wanted to illustrate the quit. So 52, let's say I put quit, it exits, but then it tells me what the number was and it exits. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. I wish you luck.